comes from that great Old Testament prophet Ezekiel, whom we read this morning, and we saw the story about the dancing river, and then we skipped ahead about 700 years to another great prophet, John, when he was exiled on the island of Patmos. And once again, what does John see but the dancing river? Let me tell you about the historical context of both John's dancing river and Ezekiel's dancing river. In the year 597 BC, the great Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar invaded Judah and destroyed Jerusalem and sent all of the people of Judah out into exile. Many of them ended up living in Babylon in a strange and foreign land. Amongst those was a man whose name was Ezekiel. And up until that point, Ezekiel had not been a religious man or a prophet at all. But when he was exiled into Babylon and forced to live in a little place called Tel Aviv, he found religion. In that terrible situation, he found hope and strength. And when all the people around him were saying, you know, Ezekiel, everything is over for us. It is finished. We have lost everything that we ever cherished, and nothing is ever going to be right again. Ezekiel began to think, and he began to pray, and he prayed to God saying, Lord, show me some sign of what is in the future for us, so that I will not despair and I can give a message of hope to all your people. And at some point in the midst of that prayer, Ezekiel was either taken up in a vision or in a dream or in some trance-like state. And in that state, God sent his angel, and the angel picked up Ezekiel in the spirit and carried him out of Babylon back to Jerusalem and to the temple that had been destroyed. And in this great vision, the temple was restored. And Ezekiel and the angel walked around and about the temple until they came to the eastern door. And at the eastern door, the angel pointed at the bottom of the door and said, "Look, Ezekiel, what do you see?" And Ezekiel said, "I see a trickle of water coming out from under the door." Now, if that happened at the church today, we have to call the board of management and say, "I think we have a problem." But it's okay. It's just a dream. There was the little trickle of water. And the angel walked with Ezekiel along the course of that trickle of water, and they went 1,000 cubits. That's a half a kilometer for those of you who no longer measure in cubits. And a half a kilometer away from the temple, that little river had become a stream, and it was up to Ezekiel's ankles, and 1,000 cubits further up to his knees, and 1,000 cubits more and up to his waist, and 1,000 cubits from that. And it was now that little trickle of water, a mighty raging torrent that nobody could cross over. A magnificent river. And then if you were to read on in that passage, you see the absolute power and the wonder of Ezekiel's visionary dancing river, because the Word of God says, wherever that river went, it brought with it a supernatural, revitalizing, healing, restorative power, so that everything close to the river sprang up to new life and wholeness and healing and abundance newness as had never been seen before. It even flowed down through the Araba Valley into the Dead Sea, the Salt Sea, and it turned that Dead Sea into a living body of water filled with every kind of fish in the whole world. And wherever the stream went, healing, newness, restoration, and wonder. And of course, what God was showing to Ezekiel in this vision was simply this, that Judah shall be restored. All that was lost will be renewed. And where will the healing come from? It will trickle out underneath the door of the temple, from the worship of God, from the place of holiness. Perhaps John, 700 years later, was greatly moved by Ezekiel when he, like God, was taken up in the Spirit and taken to some strange and different place. He also saw a river, very much like Ezekiel's river. He describes it a little bit further when he says that this river was crystal clear and flowing like a mighty torrent. But like Ezekiel's river, wherever it went, life was renewed and restored. And on each side of the bank of the river grew the tree of life, which was strength and health in itself, and the leaves of the tree of life